Let's stop pretending that talent alone wins championships in this league. If that were true, the Dallas Cowboys would have a trophy case full of hardware from the last decade. Talent is a commodity, but chemistry and the clutch factor are the currencies that actually matter when you're playing under the bright lights of AT&T Stadium. I've watched too many Pro Bowlers walk through those doors and crumble under the weight of the star, but what we saw from George Pickens this past season was a revelation that challenges everything we thought we knew about this roster's ceiling. I'm Carlos Eduardo, and today we're having a real talk about the state of this franchise. We aren't just reporting headlines here, we're dissecting the DNA of America's team. From my perspective, the narrative surrounding George Pickens has always been a distraction from the reality of his tape. When he arrived in Dallas, the whispers followed him. Talk about character issues or being a difficult teammate. But if I'm being honest with Cowboys fans, I saw the exact opposite on the film every single Sunday. What I saw was a young man who needed the structure of a veteran leader like Dak Prescott to thrive. Dak's recent comments about their relationship aren't just PR fluff. They are a window into how this locker room actually functions. When Dak talks about giving George a clean slate, he's highlighting a level of leadership that we haven't seen since the days of Troy Aikman holding Michael Irvin accountable. You don't put up 1,429 yards and 9 touchdowns by accident. And you certainly don't do it while stepping into the shoes of a superstar like CeeDee Lamb, unless you have a quarterback who trusts you implicitly on the money downs. If I'm looking at the film from this past season, the chemistry between number 4 and number 14 was expedited by a shared sense of urgency. When CeeDee went down, the season should have been over. That's the reality of modern NFL roster construction. You lose your WR1, you lose your identity. But Pickens didn't just fill a gap, he redefined it. His ability to maintain gap discipline on his deep overs and his sheer verticality on the boundary reminded me of the vintage triple threat era. I'm talking about that 1990s dominance where the defense knew the ball was going to the playmaker and they still couldn't stop it. Pickens has that dog in him, that relentless pursuit of the ball that makes every 50-50 catch feel like a 90-10 advantage for the Cowboys. But here is where I have to be blunt with you. We are staring at a massive financial hurricane. Stephen Jones is out here saying they certainly want George back, but talk is cheap in Jerry world. We've heard this song before. We heard it with Amari Cooper, we heard it with Byron Jones, and we've heard it with countless others who were priorities right until the checkbook had to come out. My analysis of the salary cap situation tells a much bleaker story than the one the front office is selling. With Dak Prescott's contract extension looming and the need to fix a defense that looked like a save against the run in the postseason, the all-in mantra is starting to sound like a convenient excuse for inaction. If I'm Jerry Jones, I'm not just looking at the 1,429 yards. I'm looking at the fact that Pickens earned second-team All-Pro honors on a rookie deal. Now, the price tag just went through the roof, and the Eagles and Giants are sitting there with cap space, just waiting for us to blink. The NFC East is a shark tank, and if we let a weapon like Pickens walk away to a rival, it would be a failure of discipline by this front office. Imagine lining up against George Pickens in an Eagles jersey twice a year. That's the kind of nightmare that keeps defensive coordinators up at night. What I see on the film is a player who thrives in the money downs, those crucial third and longs where the season is on the line. In the 2025 season, Pickens was Dak's security blanket. He wasn't just catching passes, he was bailout insurance. When the pocket collapsed and the offensive line failed to pick up simple stunts, a recurring theme that drove me crazy all year, Dak knew he could just throw it up to the boundary and George would come down with it. That kind of trust isn't bought, it's earned through blood, sweat, and those Tuesday morning film sessions. Dak Prescott is essentially the CEO of this team. When he says George is a hell of a teammate, he's putting his own reputation on the line to defend a guy who the rest of the league had written off. That is the essence of the Cowboys' legacy, taking high upside talent and molding it under the pressure of the star. From Staubach to Aikman, the great ones always knew how to manage the personalities in the room. If Dak feels this strongly about Pickens, then the front office needs to listen. You don't find this kind of natural chemistry in the draft. You don't find it in the bargain bin of free agency. You find it through the grind of a 17-game season where you've had to fight for every single yard. Now, we also have to address the other elephant in the room, Javonte Williams. Stephen Jones mentioned they want him back too, and while I appreciate the sentiment, we have to prioritize. In my view, the modern NFL is a passing league, and while a strong run game is essential for play-action success, you cannot sacrifice your vertical threat to pay a running back in a saturated market. We saw what happened when we overpaid for past running backs. It hampered our ability to build a cohesive offensive line. If I'm making the decisions in the war room, I'm putting all my chips on the table for Pickens, and finding a way to make the defense better through the draft. We have work to do on that side of the ball, especially in the secondary. We can't keep asking Dak to score 35 points just to keep us in the game. The atmosphere at AT&T Stadium during those late-season games was electric because of the connection between Dak and Pickens. When those two are in sync, the star shines brighter than anything else in the NFL. But that shine is temporary if we don't secure the foundation. I'm tired of hearing about process and building through the draft when we have an all-pro talent sitting right in front of us. If we are truly America's team, we need to act like it. We need to dominate the negotiation table just like we used to dominate the line of scrimmage. Look at the rest of the league. The competition is getting smarter, faster, and more aggressive. If the Cowboys stay stagnant, we aren't just standing still, we're falling behind. My analysis shows that teams who hesitate to pay their homegrown or adopted stars end up in a cycle of mediocrity. We cannot afford to let Pickens become another one that got away. From my perspective, the 2026 season is going to be the ultimate litmus test for this regime. We have the quarterback, we have the receiver, and we have the history. But do we have the discipline to make the hard financial choices required to keep this core together? If I'm being honest, I have my doubts about the front office's ability to navigate the cap without gutting the roster. But if they can pull this off, they can keep Pickens and CeeDee Lamb on the field at the same time next year. We aren't just talking about a playoff team. We're talking about a dynasty-level offensive explosion. Imagine a healthy CeeDee Lamb commanding double teams on the inside while George Pickens is isolated on the boundary. It's an offensive coordinator's dream and a defensive back's worst nightmare. We saw glimpses of it early on, but the full potential of that duo is something that could rival the Irvin and Harper days. That is the standard. That is what we are chasing. We aren't here for participation trophies. We are here for that sixth ring. The fans deserve better than "we're working on it." They deserve a team that steps onto the field every Sunday with the best talent money can buy and the best chemistry the game has ever seen. I believe in what Dak and George have built. I believe in the clean slate. And I believe that if this team is going to return to the summit of the NFL, it starts with making sure George Pickens stays in silver and blue. We've seen the film, we've heard the leaders, and now it's time for the decision makers to step up. In this business, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. There is no middle ground, especially not when you're America's team. The pressure is on. The bright lights are hotter than ever. And if the Cowboys want to prove they still belong at the top, they need to secure George Pickens and give Dak Prescott the weapons he needs to finish the job. Anything less is a failure of the star. I'll be here every step of the way, analyzing every play, every stunt, and every front office maneuver, because that's what this franchise demands. The pursuit of the next Super Bowl ring starts today.